Hello. If you're joining, it looks a little different, doesn't it? It's Chris Jr. here tonight, giving everybody some time to join. I think my brother will be joining us shortly. My dad is on the road and actually will be here shortly. I think he might jump in here and be part of the conversation today. But welcome everyone to Above Average Black Men with typically Chris Pender Sr., Devin Pender, and myself, Chris Pender Jr., here to empower, inspire, and uplift the community. Thank you all for taking the time to listen. I think we have a great show tonight. And as I said, I'm hoping that my accomplices will join me shortly. But first up on the docket for our topic, I know a lot has been happening the past week and some change in regards to politics. I'm not going to lie, I've been a little out of the loop after a bit of traveling with a friend of the show, Justin Lamar. Small plug. Just had a great time with him in Los Angeles for his opportunity with the Laugh Factory. So we definitely want to show some love, share our support with him. But as I was mentioning, kind of throughout the week, a lot has been happening. We had the presidential inauguration, which I'm sure a lot of people may have been thrilled about or not thrilled, depending upon what perspective or what side of the aisle that you're on. But there's been a lot of turmoil about just kind of who's been supporting it and showing up, specifically and notably Snoop Dogg. You know, if you aren't familiar, which I'm sure, how can you not be? He's everywhere. He's at the Olympics. He's selling smokeless fire machines. He's been involved and tapped in within our culture for a long time. And to kind of, as of late, if you're not aware, he's been supporting Donald Trump by kind of going and being part of the inauguration and the celebration. And it's hard not to kind of look at his past or previous comments. If you're not aware, again, Snoop Dogg previously, years ago, that first time that Trump came around, I'm going to kind of ad-lib here and not necessarily say things verbatim, but pretty much, you know, if you are an individual who is going to go and perform at the White House or perform for Donald Trump, that you're chucking and jiving. And just like spoiled milk, that's came back around to pretty much stank up the place. Like, it's been a terrible kind of take on his part to kind of go out and make those statements or claims years ago and then come back and it's just like, well, it's different for you, I guess. So many things that I have to say and think about in regards to just kind of entertainers in general. I mean, how much we kind of rely upon them to be our political experts or pundits, or we look for guidance. But I think in this case, you know, Snoop Dogg is an entertainer. He's a rapper. Not to say he may not necessarily be a good guy, but his interest is not going to be necessarily aligned with us or regular everyday people, Americans, your blue collar or white collar workers. Like, sometimes these famous people that we look up to, we put too much credence in their opinions and what they think or how they move. And this is a prime example of, like, they will not move or think necessarily how we move or think. Another part of this story here is that Nelly comes out and he pretty much is backing Snoop in regards to his decision to go ahead and perform there and make the statement that, oh, this isn't about politics and this is about having respect for the office. And for me, I don't necessarily respect who's in the office. I respect the office itself. The problem is who's actually taking and going to be within that office. Politics has certainly been a lot of turmoil over the past few years. And I think it's been a little bit too divisive, I will say that. But, you know, just kind of understanding and knowing the climate, if you sign up to do something like that, you know, do anything aligned with Trump, that is going to kind of impact kind of how people perceive and take you on. Snoop, legendary artist. Like, it's hard to imagine that he went from gin and juice to this, you know, just now he's, I don't want to say it based off his own words, cooning. Hate to say it, but just calling a spade and what it is. If he comes out and I feel like probably provides a little bit more background and context as to why, I'd be certainly very interested to know what his thoughts and opinions are on kind of what he previously said before and then his actions in regards to what he's doing right now in this time and moment. What it looks like to me, he's definitely not somebody that walks what he talks. Like I don't know if he didn't remember saying those things, or if just kind of, again, he's not a man of his word, what it seems like. It's like, what makes you so different from everybody else or anyone else that may have taken that opportunity before? And it bothers me on so many levels, because, I mean, I'm sure there are artists who probably do need that money, who have loved to have that opportunity previously, but with your status and your voice, you kind of shunned them that first time around. And then you come around right behind them and you slide in, and it's different now. It's different now. So that certainly bothers him on my part. I do wish that, my dad and my brother were here to kind of share their perspective, just again with the generational differences here. But if I can imagine kind of what my dad would say, I think he's just in line. And same thing with my brothers. It's a bit frustrating when we see or hear kind of people just shunning others and then go turn around and do the same thing. I mean, we kind of see it with Mark Zuckerberg right now at the moment, and some other rich millionaires as well, where previously they killing Trump. Not my guy. Won't see me with them. Not in a million years. Now they're donating $1 million. Like, things have turned so fast, and honestly, in my opinion, it's frightful. It really is scary to think about, why are all of these people suddenly making these brash changes, going against almost your morals. And it can't just be money, or is it just money? There's so many questions, and I think conversations that probably happen outside of us and behind closed doors. It's a little scary to think that I think people are just realigning themselves, and then for what? I really do have big questions. It's about for what? I've seen a lot, and you kind of can see it just in the news and just society right now. It's moving a lot towards the have and have-nots, and the middle class is going to be part of the have-nots. They're really trying to wipe us out. And I say yes because I'm in there. Yes. I hear heavy footsteps coming down. So if you hear that in the background, don't mind those. Nobody's breaking in here. I'm pretty sure it's just somebody running down the steps. But next up on the docket, in relations to us kind of referencing Donald Trump and kind of Snoop almost looking like an ally now, as well as Nelly kind of looking like an ally now. He's a Trumpster. I touched upon this previously in the statement where it's like, I think we do give our Black celebrities too much of a voice. We give them too much power in what their opinions are, without us as a society or even our own community doing the research for yourself and making your own decisions. Like Malcolm X pointed this out a long time ago, and it's kind of eerie and breaks my heart to see it happening in reality, where it's almost like the gatekeepers in a way of the Black community are entertainers. And if you're not entertaining, you won't be able to have a voice to speak for our community. And I say that even just kind of thinking about Charleston White, interesting character. I'm sure you don't know anything about him, Dad. Welcome. But you know? I don't want to make that assumption.
Yeah, I already did.
I'm sorry, because he's like of today's culture. He might be, I think, maybe a little bit younger than you, but he has this whole thing now where he actually is very much like you, where he wants to impact the youth in terms of like be in the community, go speak to the school board, speak to the movers and shakers that matter. When or while he was doing those things, no traction. Nobody would listen to him. But what he's doing now is he's just, I'm not gonna lie, just straight up ignorant to people. Like, he says the most outlandish and crazy things, and it's intentionally to provoke people and get them emotional and get them talking. Because that's the only time people necessarily respond to things is when they see somebody.
What's the guy that passed away?
Being aggressive like that. What?
The guy we binge watched when we were in.
That passed away?
Yeah, Kevin. What was his name?
Oh, Kevin Samuels.
Yeah,
yes.
He figured out the same thing. He figured out that folk like aggressive. Stephen A. Smith is a millionaire because he's an aggressive black man.
Mm-hmm.
He's wrong 90% of the time, man, but he's loud.
Can be loud.
He's loud and ignorant, man, and that that's what America, America, especially Americans who don't look like us, they like to see that because it solidifies it's entertaining to them.
And I mean, look where we are right now with our presidency. They took the loud.
And I don't know if you finished talking about Nelly and Snoop Dogg.
It's still tied into the second topic here, but yeah, you could cut it ahead.
That was the thing about them, I think, that for me, that I was really disappointed about, because you can't be pro culture and you draw on these lines about black and African American and who's cool and who's a Nigger, and then you turn around and
it's okay because
and I don't think people say, well, Nelly was talking about respect to office. I respect the office. I don't respect the person in the office because this has nothing to do with Republican or Democrat. He just does not. He's not going to unify the country.
He don't respect the office.
He's about himself. And I think, to me, and I'm old school, I think when you show up, it's like I always say about a wedding. If you go to a wedding, you agree with what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
You agree with who's getting married.
Sometimes.
Okay? What you should. If you go to a wedding, and that's why there's certain weddings, maybe we're not watching. That's why certain weddings I didn't go to. No, because I just felt I'm not going to go to a wedding that I think is, I know they're not going to make it. You know what I mean? So I think it's the same thing. When you can't show up and be somewhere and then say you're not a part of it and separate yourself. And Snoop Dogg was disappointed because his thing didn't go that well. What did you think you were? That wasn't a gin and juice.
That's the same song I said.
They
wasn't going to listen to Drop It Like It's Hot.
And it's funny because while he was up there doing his thing, everybody was talking loudly. Ordering drinks from the bar and different things like that. So I think that's part of it. The second thing is, I do think I agree with what you said about giving them too much, but I also think, there should be a certain amount of loyalty attached to it. It's one thing if you start from the beginning like that.
Mm-hmm.
If from the beginning I'm approved, whatever. I don't want to say I'm for everything they for now, but you can't start out saying you're on this side of the track, and then you get people support you, buy your records or buy whatever they now your music and come to your concerts, and then now you're in a position where I guess you think you made it. Now you switch over. And that's what my issue is. That's what my issue is.
You know what's funny about that statement you said about you think that you made it. You think that you did. And then you got in that room and they disrespected you but not caring about what you was doing and talking there for. They just like, oh, Snoop here. And then ignoring you.
Because to me, and this is
you're not at the level in which you think you are.
No, because I think when you sell out, nobody ever respects you.
Your own people,
the people you sell when they know you sell
people
out,
you sold yourself to.
Nobody's respecting you, man. That's the thing. Who's respecting you?
No one.
So I think I think that's important. I think there should be a certain amount of loyalty because these people spent their hard-earned money, buying your music, man. Going to your concerts, man. And supporting you.
Yeah.
So now you can't turn around and say like Nelly says, well,
wow.
He's the president. Yeah, but. So what you're telling me is, and this is not comparison, but so what you're telling me is if the devil gets in office because he's in office, you want to support him. No. And the thing about Trump is, he's divisive. Everything about him is
our politics, period.
Yeah. But we talking about the office.
I know.
But and the irony of it all is even the religion people he brought in made comments about him and his stance on certain things. Now, I don't agree with everything they said, but there's an issue when somebody who doesn't look like you, who really doesn't like you or respect you, and now you turn around, I'm not going to use the word coon, but you placate.
I said it. But the crazy part about it is I think it his own words. It's his own words. So based off of what he said and put out there, that's exactly what it is, right? So that's why it's so frustrating. I mentioned and said this earlier that this is just you closed off maybe opportunities for other people that would have done the same thing.
But think, and this goes back, and I'm always thinking like this. What message are you sending to young people? You telling young people, you're telling the next generation, stand up for what you believe, use your voice, speak, be heard, get out and vote, do all things, and then the first chance you get, you kind of do a 180. You do an about face. So I think that's a part of it. I think we have to begin as people. We got to start figuring out how do we stick together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we got to start figuring out, you know, how can we try to empower each other.
Yeah. But even I think kind of going to our next topic, which I feel like we kind of admitted there, wanted to just kind of talk about, like we said previously, how Black people, mostly our entertainers, are the ones that have a voice for us. And I think partially that's our fault as being part of the community. Even with this Snoop situation, we could be upset he made that choice and decision, but in reality, I really don't care what Snoop does.
Well, I wasn't upset. I was disappointed.
Like our community that much.
I wasn't upset. I was disappointed because once again, and I agree with you, he's not impacting our community. But to me, once again, you send a message to other people that you can divide us. That all you got to do is, you know, jiggle some trinkets, you know, and you can divide us.
But you know what? I mean, one thing that I feel like probably just I've learned growing up, you know, just look at the people that are around him. The people that are around. Like, you know, like he's not hanging out with like these pro-Black people.
Yeah, Martha Stewart.
He's hanging with Martha Stewart. Like, you know, he's hanging with those type of people.
We can do a show about this. We talked a little bit about this last week, but it's like, I get it, you know, and that's when we talked about money. And I think, you know, I don't think money itself corrupts people. I think money brings out who you really are, who you think you really want to be.
Yes.
I think it provides you the opportunity, and he has a chance to he has a chance to rewrite history about who he is, who he was. You know, and I also think you look at a guy like LL Cool J or Will Smith. They made it.
Yeah.
They were rappers. They turned around. Now most people know them more as Hollywood than actors.
Right.
You know, so I think something like that got to stir up inside you. And he did create his own niche. You know, but at the same time, I think you got to represent something. I do. I think you got to stand for something, and hey, you need to be consistent. You can't be
Black all the time,
and then all of a sudden you get a chance to go to White House, and then you want to try to justify it. Which don't just say you wanted to do it.
That's it.
Just say I thought it was the right thing to do, and I wanted to do it. All this you trying to say, you know, turn people into haters and all this stuff. I don't know. I just think for me,
and I think it's an easy thing to do.
And I think just like the pastor who prayed during inauguration. You know, you praying all this stuff to a God that's deaf ears, to a God that don't pray. And I'm not knocking him, but I'm saying, you pray this president going to unite the United States. Come on, man.
So I guess kind of the question ultimately is, do African American celebrities have, I guess, an obligation to represent African Americans?
I think if you start out doing it, you do. And I go back to like Harry Belafonte, Sidney Poitier. I go back to those guys who they fought for civil rights, man. Muhammad Ali in his own way. I go back to guys like that who stood up and say, hey, I'm fighting for my people. I'm gonna use my platform to make a stand. So I think, again, I say it again. If you start out the whole time and you like that, that's okay. If you start out the whole time, you believe in certain things, you believe in Republican principles, whatever, that's okay. But don't be pro-Black. And then all of a sudden you get in a situational opportunity and then you want to switch hats. That's my issue. I'm like you, do what you want to do. But don't, because now I feel like you played me.
Yes.
I feel like you played me to get, you got rich off of me, not off this dude.
Yep. And I hate to say it, but I will. I do feel like there's probably more celebrities than not in our community that just they say the Black stuff just to make sure they still got our support, or like they just saying things because it's almost like we got DEI in our own community.
In a sense, is like, and you say, in a sense, is like it's like politics. There's people on both sides, man, who deep down inside, who I think if you paid enough attention to, their actions are not lining up with what they say. They don't really stand for, like if you looked at some of the voting records of some of these people in office, you telling me one thing, but you voting against it. Yeah. Because you think, and you know why? Because we're not smart enough to go check to see who voted for what. So that happens a lot. And I think celebrities are the same way. They're smart enough to realize that who's spending money in entertainment? We are. Who's going to the movies and, versus who's streaming it? We are.
Yes.
Who's paying $400 or $500 to sit in the front row of those seats? We are. That's what we do.
Yeah.
And they know that. So yeah, they're going to. And I think that's why you see some people who don't look like us pick up some of our qualities because they know it sells.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I would never say this, but Eminem was more for us than Eminem didn't even sell out. That's crazy.
It's good because he was like, listen, I know I'm white.
Yeah.
And I can rap. I understand the culture. Like,
but
I'm not going to try to overstep my boundaries.
But I'm saying he didn't sell out.
Like,
he could have sold out. He could have very easily sold out.
Yeah, he definitely could.
But he didn't. Yeah, so it's like, so again, I think as a race of people, man, we got to do better, man. I think we got to do better, man.
Yeah, but I think sometimes it starts with us, like, holding 100%. These celebrities and people accountable. Just being like, I'm not for that. Even like right now, lighting Snoop up for this. And I think that's what we need to do.
Well, like, people are they're defriending them.
That's actually kind of funny. Lighting Snoop up for this.
They're defriending them. People, both of them, and I think that's why Nelly decided to have a conversation about it because I don't think he anticipated the backlash.
That's what's up. He stepped up and got lit up too.
That people say, look, I'm not going to, because you got people out here, man, who are afraid. Mm-hmm. Literally afraid because they don't know what's happening to Social Security.
It's like, what are you standing for?
This is a guy who ran on the platform of three things mainly, and two of them he just said the first one was groceries, which he turned around and said he couldn't do. The second one, he's going to end the war in 24 hours. Then he turned around and said now it's going to take at least 100 days. The only thing that he's really doing, what he said he's doing, is he's messing with the immigrants. And the funny thing, not funny, haha, but the group he attacked is Afghanistan. It wasn't even the people who intended, and then people don't listen because he keep talking about making Mexico a state, but you deporting them back out of here. I mean, it just...
Yeah, it's just so many things
makes no sense.
He says.
Again, I just think people, and I do agree with you, people have to come to senses, man. They got to do a better job picking candidates.
Uh-huh.
They got to vet candidates, and it starts at the local level. I just do. And I think sometimes we still act like the Indians. You know what I mean? But that is because, people came over and offered them trinkets. And they sold their land, they gave up stuff. And
some of the Indians went with them, and now they helping.
And we the same way. Trump dangled a few trinkets.
Native Americans.
Native Americans. Trump dangled a few trinkets, and people just jumped on it. Uh-huh. And I think part of it is, and this is what I don't know, but to me, that's an insult because you think I'm gonna be okay with it. That's a bigger insult. That you either think you have that much cred or you have that much power that I'm just going to overlook that.
Yeah. And I think, again, we've said it so many times, and I want to continue to harp on it, but it's just frustrating that, you almost feel like you've been duped.
We have been duped.
Yeah, you feel like you've been duped. And then, like I said on the other side earlier, it's just, maybe we shouldn't care that much, but to the point that you made, they're a reflection of us to society, to people that will never even get to see or meet people like you or myself.
And I'm not beating up on Stephen A. Smith, but Stephen A. Smith checks the boxes for every stereotype.
And that's what people fail to understand.
And he entertains people. You howling and screaming, and you're wrong a lot of times. Mm-hmm. You howling and screaming to get your point across, and you over talking people. That's entertainment. Nobody's tuning in to hear you do the sports because they tune in for the buffoonery.
Yeah. And I think it's something that really gets overlooked. I mean, it just made me think about a project that I did in college, just kind of studying media and the perception that people have in it. And I'll never forget, like, just kind of going around the classroom and asking people if they've ever seen a black person before outside of our college. A lot of people, no. I put on some clips from Family Guy, cracking up. They love it.
Yeah.
And to them, I'm like, so now let me ask you a question. Is this the first black person, the things that you've seen, this TV show or cartoon? Yes. And they think that we look or move like that from the things that they see and hear off of TV or radio. And I don't think that these people in these positions realize you're a reflection of all of us, even if you don't want to be.
In 1979, 20-something years after civil rights and all that stuff, I'm in college as a freshman, and there were people who thought, who would ask me, how many times you been in jail? I know you got tattoos, or what's it like to live in the projects? because the only thing new about us is what was in the media. I never forget how a guy from my neighborhood was big in the news. He got in a shootout with cops, shot a couple cops and everything, and was playing all this nationally. So everybody wanted to know, you from North Philly, what you think about this? What you
you think about?
And it was crazy because I knew the guy. I knew of the guy.
You should have told him.
I didn't tell him that, but I'm saying I was automatically the barometer for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like when Barack Obama, when a white person asks you how you feel. What do you mean how I feel? so I think America.
I'll say it. I love it.
America has been built on that, and it continues along. And the only thing that's changed is the time that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
You got to remember, if you look at every black, this is why I don't look at a lot of TV, because other than the Cosbys, every black father throughout TV in the history, there's been an issue. My wife and kids, all he did is make fun of his kids. He talk about how dumb his son was. If you look at Good Times, you know, every week something was going wrong in the project. He kept getting laid off. He wasn't making money to take care of his family, man. You know, all the stereotypes he had to deal with. If you look at shows, you know, that's how we're portrayed. And those shows are always best-selling shows.
It's funny. I just saw something online talking about this. Again, people in white society think that's them looking into our culture.
Yep.
They listen to the music and they think, oh, wow, that's what y'all do. That's what y'all go through. They look at a TV show and they're like, oh my goodness, like Good Times. Like, wow, y'all living like that?
It's funny. I'm just leaving the train. I'm in this room with CEOs and all different kind of people in this training. And this person in particular, you know, so one of the questions I asked him was, you know, what are some questions that you could ask kids in mentoring? And somebody said, well, you know, who's your favorite artist? And, you know, and I said, that's a great question, except for me, I wouldn't know. If I asked a kid that question, I wouldn't know. Because it's totally different, you know. And then, you know, and I said, you know, like, I'm not a big rap artist guy, never was.
That's crazy, because I remember years ago, like when Kendrick Lamar, he dropped his first album, and I'm at a work conference, and somebody comes up to me and he just like, I know you heard and listened to that new Kendrick Lamar. I'm like, what? But then what happens? I was actually listening to Chris Stapleton.
When somebody like Snoop and Nelly do what they do, it's reminiscent of us selling out.
Mm-hmm.
It's reminiscent of us, you know. Okay, I've been black, but now this is my chance to cross over. You know, this is my chance to kind of get on the other side, and I think I made it because I got all this money. I think they're gonna let me in, and the problem is they never really let you in.
Or you know what it is? Not even crossover. They think they one of them.
Yeah, what is a crossover?
Yeah, I guess it's a crossover. Yeah. They don't look at it as a crossover. It's like they stepped into like, I'm just like you.
Yeah,
and then they quickly remind you that you're not.
Yep.
Quickly remind you that you're not, and I think that happens probably more too often than not to people who get in those situations. It's like they think that these problems that we have is kind of average. Black people don't happen to them because they tax.
Regardless of how many times it happens, you see the black politicians, man, who thought they were going to get named for vice president, so he's out there licking his boots and going through stuff. They didn't get a cabinet position. You know, all the stuff they were saying, all that stuff. He put somebody on Fox News.
He called somebody the new age MLK. You ain't even get a speech on MLK Day or the inauguration.
But he put a news guy on there. He put a news guy on there before he put you on there. And he got a bunch of unqualified people who've never been in politics before, but yet you feel compelled to sell your soul for this guy. So it's been like that through history throughout time.
All for promise.
It was a house Negro back in slavery days. It's always, you know what I mean? That's just how it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and then to see everything else that's happening around, it's like, no way. How could you sit there, see how this man moves, and then just kind of assume or think that you any different?
Well, because it's the trinkets. You know, it's fool's gold. You know, and it's just like people who voted for him because, and I don't want to be alone, because they thought they were getting another stimulus check. You know, I don't know anybody who got a stimulus check that was that big, that was that huge. You know, but you know, it's a trinket. So I dangle a little trinket, you know, and people just, okay, they get used to taking the trinkets. I get them addicted to the trinkets. You know, now I'm the handout.
Yep.
I like the handout. You know, forget everything he does. All I know is the one thing he did for me, and that's all that matters.
It's like, you okay with being disrespected for a couple dollars?
But do you have...
It's actually kind of wild. Clearly, yes. And almost at every level. At
a young lady...
famous people, Snoop, and then us taking the check.
A young lady asked me a question. And she was saying how, you know, she made it out the hood. And she was like, I don't understand how... what's the difference between, you know, people like her and I and other people in the same situation with the same access to the same things. And it's a state of mind. You know, it's what you believe. You know, it's how you see yourself. It's how you see, what your future is. It's like when I'm talking to some high school kids. It's January. You graduate in June, and you still don't have a plan. Because they never thought about it because they live day by day. And there's adults who do the same thing, Chris. They don't have a plan, man. They live day by day.
I think something that you said that kind of stands out to me is the idea of how we see ourselves.
Yeah, it's important.
And that is complex and all over the place in our community. Okay. There's certain things that we qualify that we say is black,
Yeah.
When I'm like, maybe we shouldn't be.
And there's positive saying that. And there are positive things
that we say is white.
Black and white. But again,
that's like, how do we see ourselves?
It goes back to conditioning. It's like if you tell a person to shut up long enough, eventually they stop talking.
Yeah,
this is the bottom line. I don't care what they got to say, whatever, because he get tired of you telling him to shut up. It's like an elephant.
Or the opposite, he's gonna go off on you.
If you get an elephant cub and you chain it, this is how they train elephants. They chain that cub to a stake so he can't break. He just walks in circle in circle. Mm-hmm. As he grows up, he's conditioned to think that he can't break that chain. He don't know he got the power to break the chain because they've been conditioning him over a long period of time. Mm-hmm. So all he do is put the chain on, and he walks around in circles. He thinks he can't break the chain. As a cub, he can't, but as a full-grown elephant, it's over.
It would have been over.
It's the same thing with a lion, man. You try going to the jungle with a chair and a whip, and you go in and think but you train them like that when they cubs. You train them like they're cubs when they grow up. They learn to respect the chair and the whip, mm-hmm. and that's why you see some lions turn on their owners because guess what?
I'm tired of this chair.
The animal promise keeps in, man. That lion instinct kicks in. Mm-hmm. And they realize, this chair ain't hurting me.
I love that analogy because it's like, at what point are we going to just kind of wake up and realize that?
But, and as we segue into our next conversation, it's no different when you talk about, I listen to people the way they talk about Jalen Hurts. Josh Allen had almost the same numbers. Hurts had more total yards, and they holler MVP. Hurts is not a good quarterback. I hear people say, Josh Allen, he does this. Yeah, Hurts doesn't have to do it because he got a guy back that he gives the ball to that runs for 60, 70 yards. So why am I going to throw the ball 40 times, but you're missing the point? Because Allen may throw for 300 yards and lose. Hurts may throw for $175, 200, but they win. Who do you want?
It's kind of funny, like just kind of looking at the numbers.
Yep.
And for the games that they play, and with that, Jalen Hurts actually missed 2 games.
Yep.
But like you said, his passing numbers are lower. We ran the ball. The number 1 team in the league running the ball. So like
they would have been 2 drop passes away from being 16-1. The drop pass against Washington and the drop pass against the Falcons. So I don't understand.
It's the touchdowns.
Yeah, but the touchdowns because the offense are different, and they got the tush push. They got Saquon Barkley. So it's different.
Because it's like Josh Allen threw for 28 touchdowns and ran for 12 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts threw for 18 and ran for 14. And another thing that stands out, just as an Eagle fan, that's sore to me, Jalen Hurts was sacked 38 times.
Yeah. So,
compared to 14.
But this is what I said to somebody before.
That's crazy.
Everybody jumped up and down when he held onto the ball and hit dots in the end zone. Like everybody was celebrating that. Everybody celebrates when he holds onto the ball and he throws deep. So you can't have it both ways. Mm. And I think that's the problem. And, even with the sacks, he gave up 68 yards against Washington. But still look what he total yards. And if you factor the game in against the Rams, A.J. Brown dropped about 60 yards. The first down he dropped and the 40-yard bomb he dropped. He should have got credit for the one that helmet call on Devontae Smith. So he would have been.
He missed one.
I'm just saying he would have been like 18 out of 20, Chris.
And passing percentage wise,
I'm
shocked. He's actually 68.7%.
He's only throwing the ball 20 times a game, and I hear people like, they got to fix the pass. Why? Why am I going to fix what's wrong with the passing game when I'm killing everybody? I'm averaging 250 yards on the ground.
Which actually makes you think, like, if he actually almost close to 70%, But even if Josh Allen 63, 64.
If you compare them over the same,
if he threw it more, he'd probably be pretty good.
If you could, whatever you need him to do. When they needed the big fourth down play against
He did
the
it.
Rams,
He could do it.
he hit AJ right between the numbers, right with the bad leg, right between the numbers. And so when they needed to score in the Super Bowl, who took him up and down the field to keep up with Kansas City? He did.
I mean, I think what happens a lot of the time in the NFL, we've seen this probably tremendously jump over the years where the black quarterback has been dominating and coming into.
Oh, he's there now.
And you're right. And it's like before.
3 out of 4.
I was just thinking
3 out of 4 left.
Think about guys that used to they turn them into receivers or they turn them into running back.
Keyshawn Johnson said this about Hurts, and I believe it. People don't want to see him succeed because they said he wasn't going to succeed when he came out. So they keep repeating. And if you repeat a narrative long enough over anybody, eventually you're going to have a bad year. So he had a bad year last year. The team, but it wasn't really, if you go back and look at it, those 10 wins he had, he played spectacular.
He was a top 10 quarterback.
So, but the knock with him was people go back to college. The knock with him is he can't do this, he can't do that, he can't throw the football. Okay, well, if he can't throw the football, why did he have 2,000-yard receivers last year? How did A.J. Brown get 1,000-yard this year? And I think Devontae got 900, but he can't throw the football.
Sometimes I think the news just says things to say things, just to create that controversy or have something to talk about.
Because we just repeat it.
Because you can't come out here and just be sing his praises every week.
I'm not saying. But they don't give him any credit, and
they don't do that either.
Like the Rams game.
They don't.
Well, he was 15 for 20 with 2 drops, so he would have been 17 for 20. What are you talking about? Fix the passing game. They rush for 200 and something yards. You don't. What are you fixing the passing game for?
Sometimes
in the snow.
I will say, it's a couple times he's done it a lot more as of late. But just take the check there. Take the simple.
But But if you watch it and people put the tape up, those guys are not always open. It's easy to sit there on Monday morning.
I know that.
And look at the tape. I'm not, what I'm talking about, and make, and I'm not saying he doesn't miss open. I'm not saying that. Believe me. But I am saying that dude is he wins. Dude wins. You can say what you want to say. They win. He's been in the playoffs every year. He's been a starter. Every year he's been a starter. He was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. If he goes back again, then with another quarterback not named Patrick Mahomes that can say 2 out of 3 years they were in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but this is another plus stat though for Jalen Hurts is he actually averages more yards per attempt on the pass. So it's it's interesting because
it's a quarterback league. But he dropped that ball in there.
It's a quarterback league.
Did you see it again?
Yeah, I did.
The one he dropped on the sideline, he admitted he dropped that ball in there between 2 defenders, and he just dropped it.
You want to know why though they hate on Jalen Hurts? Is because it's a quarterback league, and they don't like to see that he also runs the ball as well as he throws the ball.
But my problem with that is Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is probably one of the best runners in the game.
I know.
But this is the perfect example.
It took a while they kept saying for him, he can't pass. He can't
pass. They're blaming him for the loss. He didn't drop the 2-point conversion. And everybody, he brought him back. He choked. He came down and he literally handed the ball to the guy to tie the game up. So how did that he choke? He had some turnovers. It happens. It's the NFL. It's another team over there. But everybody want to talk about he choked. Now, contrary, they don't say when Josh Allen loses, you don't hear that. They don't say that when Joe Burrow, you don't hear that. In the back, if I look at
or Sam Darnold, he had a great year, man. He just ran out of luck at the end. He'll be back. What?
Jared Goff.
Oh my, that's a choke job.
I'm just saying.
He
can throw 5 interceptions in the game, and everybody thinks that's okay.
Oh my goodness! But it is
at first when they threw the pick 6 like he did over the guy. They still be talking about.
But that goes back to the point that we were saying earlier about the perception and just how they talk about certain people and certain guys.
Well, look
for us, for a black quarterback, it is or just in sports in general. It's funny how they talk about black athletes versus white athletes.
Yeah.
The white guy is kind of crafty, high IQ, shifty. And then for black athletes, and this is almost across all sports, we're athletic, fast, strong.
Yeah.
Tough can go either way.
If you just look at the way it's played out, I give you a perfect example. I love Jaden Daniels. Not a Skins fan, but it is. But to come out and say that he's better, say he's having a better year. Dude he's just in the first part of his career. So how are you going to say he's better than somebody? That means
we love to do that.
I know, but I'm just saying, you can't say that.
I'm not going to lie. I was kind of guilty of saying it. You want to know why?
He's having a better year and he's good.
I was like, there may be certain things that I feel like he does better than that person at the same period of time they were there.
Oh, most definitely. But
he's not better than
let the guy
overall.
have a career before you start saying he's better than some. How many quarterbacks have had the great first year and then go into oblivion?
Exactly, yeah. A lot.
And dude is playing in the second NFC championship in 3 years.
But we do it all the time. Like, think Anthony Edwards, they was calling him Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, that disappeared quick.
Because we do that, and I think it's not fair to the athlete. So now if he comes to the link and he gets destroyed, what are you gonna say? He's still a rookie. People don't realize that. Dude is still a rookie. And so you gotta give him some chance to grow. I like him. I do. I think he can be. He most definitely can be one of the best quarterbacks.
Yeah.
He ain't never gonna be Lamar, but I think he's gonna be his version of himself.
And again, it's funny because I just think we do this all the time, and we just to compare. Like, all right, who's gonna be the next Michael? Who's gonna be the next LeBron?
Like you say, well, I'm taking Josh Allen. Okay, well, you taking Josh Allen. He puts up the stats, but who wins more games?
And what's actually funny about that, Josh Allen didn't necessarily start out the best in his career.
No.
People was talking about that might have been a bust or a waste of a pick. Like, he had to grow into that. Jalen Hurts actually been playing well.
That's what I said.
I think that's what probably bothers people is that he's been playing at such a high level that when he does something just not as consistent with that, yes, we get used to it.
But he's doing what he's – and I said it to somebody, he's doing what he was asked to do. Mm-hmm. If he turned around and said, I demand to throw the ball more, he's arrogant, he's not a team player. You know what I mean? Just like they talked about A.J. Brown. When A.J. Brown said, he's arrogant, he's not a team player, all about himself. So now you got somebody who's doing what you asked him to do and not complaining.
Mm-hmm.
And not complaining, and I think he doesn't get credit for it. Like when AJ dropped them 2 balls, Hurts could have very easily came back and said, yeah, I would have had more yards if he caught them 2 balls. But he didn't. You know what I'm saying? He could have came out and said, oh, well, there was a few drops today. He didn't. He never does. No. Just like Michael Barkan says, and people started complaining about it, that Hurts was asking Barkley what the play was. And that was the furthest thing from the truth. Yeah. So where'd you get that from?
Wild, though.
So it was the other way around. Barkley was asking.
Was this a Philadelphia sportscaster?
Yeah, the Philadelphia dude. So that was crazy.
I try not to listen to them because
I didn't. Somebody was telling me. They said they turned it off.
They said ridiculous things.
They turned it off. And it was funny because the early thing was that everybody was saying, he said, watch this, or give me the ball. Where he got. And then Barkley
the play again?
And then Barkley came out and said,
he the one who told him to play.
So Barkley came out and said, I was asking him, what exactly was it? Something to the effect that. So it wasn't him asking Barkley, but white guy come out and says, yeah, man, he was asking. Wow, because that's the thing that he can't do certain things.
And so that's what I was about to say. Is they always say that about getting a black quarterback. It's like, well, he's not processing the game fast enough, or he can't see the field all the way. Like, it's just. Oh, so
I look at Ron Jaworski. I have nothing against you. Come on, man.
He can't process the field.
He threw 3 interceptions to the same dude in the Super Bowl. You should never open your mouth to say somebody can't read defense or somebody not processing. So you threw 3 interceptions to the same dude on the same side of the field.
I'd have been like, the fix is in.
So I'm just saying, though, he made Ryan Martin became a hero because
y'all know each other.
You threw the ball to him 3 times, and you know what? And when the Eagles beat him that year, you know what the score was? They beat him 9-3. The Eagles scored all field goals. They didn't score a touchdown. They had a great defense that year. So but people forget that.
That's a good point, though. It's like sometimes the commentators or these people
forget
that
be and he on the show talking about somebody
all crazy. It's like
that's why I couldn't be on the show because I would ask all them guys, Chase Daniels and all them, what game? How many games you won in the snow? How many times you led your team? No, you were Chase Daniels. You were a placeholder on the Super. You were a holder. You held the ball. So how now all of a sudden you're a quarterback expert? Because if they was all that smart, they would start.
You signed like, yeah, I don't know.
So now it's easy to sit there on Monday and look at tape and say you missed this, you missed that, but it's a whole different ball game. Yeah. And then look at some of the people. Same thing when I go every year. If you watch the draft, there's a black player to come out that they stick some kind of label on to make them go low on the draft every year. And it never comes out into draft time.
Actually thinking about this though, like we were talking about the difference between Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen. One thing that popped up to me is like, who are the people that are actually voting? Right? Like it's the media members that are across the country that get to make that decision. And it's like just hearing how they talk about them in the media, you kind of already know where they're going to be going.
But I think most of the voters don't understand MVP.
That too.
They don't understand most valuable player it means who's the most valuable to their team.
Mm-hmm.
It's not contingent upon you go to the Super Bowl or you go. It's not. That's why I was called the most valuable player. So I hear people talk about, but his team didn't win. Yo, but where would his team be without him?
Mm-hmm.
It's a most valuable player, and you can't tell me. There's no way you can tell me that Josh Allen, that Barkley should not be in the running. Come on, man. There's not a human. Come on, in the history of the game that's going to break off. He ran for over 500 yards against the Rams. Just one team.
Yeah. And what you said about the most valuable player thing, that it really gets skewed by people.
Yeah.
It's like, I heard somebody talk about trying to give it to Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Just because he put up a bunch of numbers, but he didn't win no games.
But he had the one big season, Chris. He had the one big season.
They were talking about this year.
But I'm just saying he had the one big season. But see, that's the hypocrisy of the whole conversation. When you can say Hurts is not good because he didn't put the numbers up. But Burrow he has the numbers, but he's not winning, but that's okay. Come on, man. You play the game to win.
Like,
you don't play the game to say, okay, I'm 1-16, but I got great stats. No. And I think that's the difference in what we see now, was because Steve Young ran the football. Steve Young had some huge runs, for San Fran when he was playing in San Fran. Nobody ever talked about that. Nobody ever talked. Then I hear people say, "Oh, well, Barkley is the whole team." Come on, man.
It's sometimes it's people that don't know and understand sports and the dynamic of sports.
I'm convinced, Chris. I'm convinced they just look at highlights. I'm listening to the show today in the car.
They do though.
And this guy, and I can see his face. I can't think of his name. He said two things which made me believe that you need to hire somebody to watch the game and report back to you.
You do.
He was, oh yeah, man. Hurts he wasn't seeing things. He didn't see things on the interception. He didn't throw an interception. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? He didn't throw it. And I'm listening to the stuff he says. Like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? So, did you watch the game where you just
don't?
He's not seeing the field because the interception and the numbers and not. AJ Brown dropped 2 balls. He dropped a first down and he dropped a touchdown.
They don't. Michael Irvin, I've heard him say this recently, where he was saying during the regular season, it's impossible to watch every game. All the games are at the same time, either 1 or 4:30.
But then hire somebody. Don't get on there.
That's what I'm saying. And don't pretend like you've been seeing everything.
And don't repeat what you just hear other people say.
Yes.
Oh, this guy said it, so now it just. And Philadelphia's good for that. We just repeat what the best damn sports show. I can't think. Tyrone, and I'm not a big fan of but he said something the other day, and he's right. He's you hear all these people in the media saying he can't do this, he can't do that, he can't do that. Well, who's won more games? Not named Patrick Mahomes. So would you rather have somebody that's putting up numbers every year and your team don't make the playoffs, you sitting home watching it? Or somebody that's just getting your team to win?
He's one of the winningest quarterbacks we've seen in a long time. And
for as much as we complain about Sirianni, they got the best winning percentage other than Andy Reid and McComb. So Josh Allen, he won in the AFC Championship game last year, if I remember right. And it's funny because, guess who beat all those guys? Hurts, he beat Lamar, he beat Josh Allen, he beat Joe Burrow, he beat all those guys.
And honestly, my MVP, it wouldn't even be Jalen Hurts. It would be Saquon Barkley.
You cannot, come on.
It would be Saquon
What he's
Barkley
doing is historic.
Down.
What he's doing is historic. I mean, come on. Dude break off. Not only does he break off two 60-plus yards, Chris, he's been a shoestring away.
Yeah.
How many times he's been like one tackle, one thing away, and dude is just playing.
Think about games we stopped playing them, where like other people was getting
took
touches.
himself out the game.
He's sliding down, not scoring a touchdown because he wanted to help run the clock out. He's definitely a team guy, but he was not too far off from breaking a record that I don't know if it will be broken.
But he's 100.
He probably will though.
He's 140 yards short of having more rushing yards. Terrell Davis has set the rushing yard total for playoffs, and he's 140 yards short of breaking that. So if he gets 2 more games, which he probably will, he may get it against the Skins next week.
I was about to say, but he can get that in 1 game.
There's not I like Derrick Henry, but there's not a back in the league like Barkley right now. He has the power, he has the speed. He catches the ball. He got the whole package.
Complete package.
But I think it goes back. If that was Christian McCaffrey, man, he'd be.
My goodness!
Serious.
If that was Christian McCaffrey,
he's a serious. All you heard last year was he's a serious. The big campaign was he's serious. He should get this, and he's serious. It's a travesty. Christian McCaffrey.
If that's actually
I'm just
funny.
saying.
I agree.
That's just,
if it was Christian McCaffrey, they would have been going crazy. So they'd have crowned him before the season ended. Like,
and it's funny because Brock Purdy didn't have gaudy stats either. He handed the ball off, he threw the ball with the short passes to them, and everybody they got mad because Cam Newton called him a game manager. Had a fit because he called him a game manager, and his stats were no better than her stats right now.
And that's actually a great point to make.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
They was ready to sign Brock Purdy, give him all this money. Bill. Like, oh, he's better next, than everybody. He's next up. And then, like, he's not better than Jalen Hurts.
But it's funny because similar stats, similar offense, just don't hurt us. Just make positive plays. So don't turn the ball over. Get it to McCaffrey. Get it to George Kittle. Get it to Debo. Get it to your receivers. That's it. No high risk stuff. That's all they need them to do. Got upset because Cam Newton called him a game manager. But yet you call Jalen Hurts that every game. Every week.
And like literally the same.
Now, who's still winning? Who's not winning?
It's us.
They still win.
Great take. Definitely love the pointing up the Brock Purdy thing.
It's the NFL, man. It's like some of these quarterbacks are terrible, and they just go from team. Kirk Cousins has never won anything in his entire life, and he gets these guaranteed deals, $84 million. Then he gets with the Falcons, and he's on the bench now with the Falcons. They playing the brother now, but they paid him all this money. Why? He's never won anything in his life. He didn't win in Washington, didn't win in Minnesota. But you keep paying this dude all this money. But then, so I'm just saying, and nobody ever questions.
He's been
his
on
money.
my fantasy team. He has been pretty good.
Yeah, during the season he is.
Yes,
but nobody ever questions his. Nobody ever questions that. But never.
Mm-hmm. He hasn't won no big games.
No, but then Hurts, they already talk, he makes more money. He makes more money than all the rest. Somebody said today he makes more money than all the rest of the quarterbacks still alive. First of all,
he's top 6 in the league.
First of all, I know McCollum making a boatload of money. He probably not be all making it the way they say it. But and the second thing about this, that ain't his fault.
No,
he didn't put a gun in their hand and say trade me.
Pay me.
Yeah, he didn't. He played. And other than McCollum, no other quarterback has won more games than he's won. Dak Prescott got paid. Dak don't get past the first round.
And that's actually all of the quarterbacks have been getting paid as of late. And he's well deserving of it.
Lamar was in the Super Bowl, not Lamar. Burrow was in the Super Bowl, 4 years ago? And done much since then? Yeah, he go up and down the field all year long, but that's it. He home.
He in a bad situation. We'll say that.
Yeah, but that matters.
It does.
I'm not. Don't get me wrong. Dude's a great quarterback. I'm not knocking him, but I'm just saying, that's the contrast that I'm talking about. You want the guy that's going to go up and down the field and get the gaudy numbers, and you're home watching every year, or you want the guy that's going to do what he's supposed to
do to help you win. And that Jalen Hurts does everything. He can run it. He can pass it. And I think we got a team that's bound for the Super Bowl this year, baby.
I mean, any given Sunday can happen. But people fail to realize they were winning 14-0 before he got hurt against the Skins game. And the Skins are like what? 15 or 16.
Well, they are changing their name.
Commanders, I'm sorry.
They are changing their name.
The Commanders are like 15 or 16th in rushing. This game is going to be interesting because he's going to have an opportunity to throw the ball because they're going to put 8 guys in the box. And so he's going to have an opportunity to throw the ball. Now, people don't understand. The play calling sucks too. Like some of the plays they call don't make sense. But you can't blame him for that.
It's actually a point there. Is like it always comes back to the quarterback, and I think it's probably even been more like kind of
it's an oxymoron.
Bright lot on him.
It's an oxymoron because when he plays great, Kellen Moore called a great game. When he plays bad, he's just not executing. And it's funny because I said this. Kellen Moore called that game like he was already in Dallas.
Like he's already.
He did, like he already took the job. Because when he was calling down the stretch, it's snowing. You running the ball and you dropping back. What is that? And then you call it a bootleg. Dude just tore his knee up. He limping, and then you call a bootleg. But nobody talks about that. And I don't know what he saw, why he held the ball, because I don't know. I don't know. He could have threw the ball, got an intercept. I don't know. So I can't pretend to say what he does. But I say this again as we close. Josh Allen to hold that ball and run around all over the place and throw an interception. Nobody says a word. Hurts holds the ball, gets sacked is a big deal. He can't. But But when he runs around and makes a play, like against
he's sacked 38 times, though.
Yeah, but against the Packers, when he held the
38 times.
Yeah, but I'm saying again, and all of it's not his fault. Like if you watch some of them games, some guys like against the Rams, some of them guys came in scot free.
Like that.
So when you get sacked, it ain't all on you as a quarterback. The point I'm making is he does hold the ball too long, but you can't go rah when he holds the ball for 7 seconds and throws a touchdown. And now you hold the ball, you having a fit because he hold it too long when he gets sacked. Which way? You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather him just get rid of the ball altogether.
I agree with you 100%. I'm not disagreeing with you, but you can't be, like the Dotson thing. I keep saying it. He had the ball for 6.5 seconds. He blocked and protected. He looked around the pocket, looked up, and he connected with him. And everybody thought, that his patience, his maturity, his growth. So the only do it and get sacked, he's an idiot.
And it's just like kind of looking at the top sacked quarterbacks in the league. Like he's 11th. And I don't feel like it's like Patrick Mahomes is right there. It's like quarterback.
But then if you look at that,
Patrick Mahomes actually plays and does a lot of the same things.
But how many of those sacks also came when he was running? He got tackled behind the line of scrimmage. The design sweeps and stuff they call with him. So it's not like they were all dropped back. He got sacked. But he does. Again, I say he needs that clock in his head has to get better. He needs to know when to get rid of the ball, when not to get rid of the ball, and that's something that it really just started happening because the year they went to the Super Bowl, he wasn't having that problem.
Tying them up.
Nah, it just started coming on. But again, you know what I attribute that to? He gonna have another offensive coordinator next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's gonna have another offensive coordinator next year.
Without a doubt, he is.
Name another quarterback in the NFL that has every year in the league you got different offensive coordinator, and the philosophy changes.
And that's.
I'm just saying.
I think that's something that people don't necessarily take account.
But I think people look at the color of his skin and they hold him to a different standard. And I just think I do. I just think, and it's not just him. And you pointed earlier how many quarterbacks got turned into running backs or got turned into receivers in the past. It took them a long time for them to acknowledge. They thought Andy Reid was an idiot and Stephen A. Smith and all of them came out. That was the dumbest thing you ever did, drafting Patrick Mahomes. And now everybody on. So you don't. Yeah. So, and even then, it's hard to criticize him because he just won Super Bowls. But at first, what's the term they use? It's funny because when you Brett Favre or you Aaron Rodgers, you're a gunslinger. Mm-hmm. When you black, you careless. Gunslinger. That's what they call him. But when you black, you careless.
I used to hate when they called Aaron Rodgers that. I mean, not Aaron Rodgers,
Brett Favre.
Same thing. Man.
But they did. But when you black, you careless with the football.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then my last point, I think, is ironic because I remember when Randall Cunningham was tearing the league up. And everybody kept saying, you're never going to win with a quarterback like that. Now, guess what? 3/4 of the league, and the Giants trying to figure out how to get one. They don't even want to NFC.
We talk about the Eagles' offensive line and how good they are all the time.
We do because, but see, it's misleading because, okay, I'm a huge Lane Johnson fan, but there's times he's giving up sacks, man.
Yeah, of
that
course.
They say he didn't, but there's times, man, when he just, either let his guy go too early or something happened. Or
bad protection, they double him, line going one way. Yeah.
But my thing is, but even with 38 sacks, he's still, and I'm not saying it need to be cleaned up, but I'd rather have those 38 sacks in that 14-2 record.
Yeah, I would too. I'll take it. And then we go to the Super Bowl, I take that too.
Or that 14-3 record.
He's not turning the ball over either, so.
Nope.
I live with that.
He's tied with Patrick Mahomes for a number of games in the playoffs without turning the ball over. Again.
Yeah.
So and with the team they have right now, you are an idiot if you think they should start throwing the ball over the field. You got the best and the hottest running back in the league. Now I get it. There's times you got to throw it, but
sometimes the best play, honestly, the best play is taking the sack. Like instead of forcing it, or you can't get out the pocket.
Early in the year, he threw 5 interceptions, and everybody thought that was the end of the world.
So sometimes the best play might be taking the sack. I get that, but
I just think in general, man, that
we look at our black quarterbacks.
We look at them differently.
Yeah,
we look at them differently, man. I think, and it's going to get worse because pretty soon, almost everybody in the league gonna have one.
It's getting close.
Everybody in the league gonna have
close.
One,
if not on the bench, they're gonna be starting.
You got to figure because it was an opportunity to have 4. If Lamar beats Buffalo, 4 African American quarterbacks in the Final Four. But even you go back before that, in the playoffs around before that, you had a lot of guys, man. You had a lot of brothers in there playing football.
Yeah. And now that we're taking the quarterback, they're taking the D-backs. Cooper DeJean, Blankenship.
Lancaster slow as for the health, man. But, yeah.
But he's smart. He's shifty.
Yeah. Well,
I was just joking.
No, but see, that's how you know you have a good football team when you draft players to make up for other players' weaknesses. You know what I mean? When you draft, because he can't go sideline to sideline. So what do? You get Q, you get Cooper. You get guys that can cover longer out there, so he doesn't have to go sideline to sideline. He can, like you said, he can play smarter. Now, and I can tell you this. Now, I'm thoroughly impressed because when Q went down, I was like, here we go. Rodgers came out there and did a solid job. And he should have had an interception on the one. The guy took it from. He did a solid job for a guy in the cold weather, not loose, not playing. You threw him out there. He did a solid job, man.
Yeah.
Just like
shout out to Rodgers.
You didn't hear Trotter's name a lot, but you didn't hear him messing up.
I know.
You didn't hear him say he missed the coverage, so he played
I think
a
he's
solid
gonna be
game.
a monster. Have his daddy spirit.
But people don't give the team credit for that. Like that defense. If I had that defense right, let me tell you something, man. I'm not taking any chances either. And I'm gonna tell you the market of a good team. When they gave up that safety, they could have quit. When they gave up that safety in the game, man, they could have quit.
They knew they was winning that game.
No, I'm just saying. Oh, they didn't know because they got this dude named Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter.
They got this dude named Jalen Carter, which is ironic because again, they painted this narrative about him while he's just nobody wanted to touch him, which was good for the Eagles.
I'll take it. Worked out
He'll
for
go
us.
to the Pro Bowl. It's only his second year and he's a beast already.
He's a beast.
So imagine as he learns more. They were showing us
him and Bond.
Chris Long was saying this. Chris Long was saying how he's amazing how smart he is. And they showed this clip where he was calling out the plays. Him and Nolan Smith was talking, and they were calling out the plays and the different things to do, and that's how they knew to do the stunts. And both of them were flourishing in it. This is a guy's second year.
That Georgia connection.
Yeah. And Nakobe Dean was playing well. Sound man, but I know we got to go, man. But I just think, in a nutshell,
Georgia Eagles here.
I think
Philly Bulldogs.
And they owe Howie an apology because everybody about fire him. Who? Howie Roseman, the general manager. So I think.
But that's how this city is. We just quick to.
But I think
throw everybody under the
Jalen
bus.
Hurts and I get some of the criticism is justified, but it's almost like you criticize him without thinking about all the good he's done. You criticize him like he's been done bum the whole time. And Barkley, well, they kind of made it to the Super Bowl without Barkley. They kind of made it to the Super Bowl with Miles Sanders one year, and then the next year they had a successful year. They lost the last couple of games with DeAndre Swift. So Barkley has taken them to the next level, but that's okay.
I don't even talk about last year. That's what Barkley, yes. I'm glad we paid him. Thank you, Giants.
And they still got capital. They still got draft capital.
We appreciate you.
They still got draft capital, man.
You get my shout out for today in wrapping this show.
So I didn't read some of that
The
stuff.
New York Giants. Now it's just like people, showing love. Instead of saying hello, somebody said Jello. Shout out to Jello.
Yeah. But I'm just saying now, I think in closing, man, I think we as people have to do a better job of sticking together, man.
Yes.
We have to find some way to not be separated on the minute issues while the big issues are killing us. Like we out here arguing about transgender, and we got some of the worst schools in the country, in our communities. We got food deserts in our communities, and we out here arguing about, who marries who. And as a Christian, I get it, but we got bigger fish to fry. We should be arguing about getting our kids educated.
Yeah.
We should be arguing about how there's no supermarkets and we have food deserts in our communities. That's the stuff you want to get out there and march, get on the front line about. Yeah, do that.
Mm-hmm. I think we needed some accountability in our community.
Perfect word.
Holding people accountable for the choices and decisions that they make. And we talked about Snoop and Nelly at the top of this. Like I think right now at the time where we're gonna hold you accountable for saying one thing and doing another thing. And like I think all the way through, that's something that's probably missing in our community a lot, is that ability to look at your brother, look at your sister, look at your cousin, whoever, your friends, and just say like, hey, you can be better, you can do better, and not feel no type of way about it. Because at the end, we ultimately all want to help each other and see each other win. So thank you guys for tuning in to Above Average Black Man. Shout out to my brother. He wasn't feeling well today, so hopefully he feels better. Stay tuned, man. Same channel. We'll be back here. I stole my dad's line. We're on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram. We're going to get some clips posted up there.
And we'll be on Apple this weekend.
And we are going to be on Apple this weekend.
So we'll be on everything. Yeah.
So, yes, thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, share. Send us some people you want us to shout out next week. Yes, we want to start showing love to our listeners, people in the community. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll be able to just, at the end of our show, shout you out and give you some love here. So thank you all. Take care, everybody. Good night.